Hello, welcome to Brian Lomax Movie Talk. Yes, joining me today are all my favorite YouTube people. We got Cody, we got Durban, we got CP, we got Lindsay, and we've got Sean Chandler. We're here to talk about what has become a rather controversial film, Wonder Woman 1984. And when I say controversial, I mean everyone seems to rag the crap out of it. I have yet to see any good reviews.
You didnn watch my review then? What are you doing not watching
I didn't. I like you guys, but I'm not sitting there watching all your content. Come on. Right, so yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. That's all we're here to talk. There will be spoilers, so if you do not want this film spoiling for you, don't be watching this video until you've seen it. But I will go around the clock and just get everybody's initial kind of thoughts on the film, just their first experience coming out of the film. What did they think there and then, before they overthought it, before they went away and did reviews and thought what was wrong with it, what was right with it? What was that just gut reaction coming out of the cinema? I'll start with who's at the top on my thing. So Cody, you go first. What was your gut reaction coming out of Wonder Woman 1984? Where did you see it as well, cinema or at home?
I saw it on a screener, actually. I saw it a couple days before it came out to HBO, and it was on a work night. It was one of the last few nights before my holiday vacation started. So I was like, all right, I got to watch this no matter how late I have to stay up, because tomorrow I got to do my review. So my initial reaction was, holy crap, that movie was long. It's already 11:30 at night. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it overall. I loved the first one, like, a lot, so it didn't meet my expectations for a Wonder Woman sequel, but overall I was like, okay, that was an enjoyable, fun little comic book movie. I did feel it was a little bit too lighthearted for my taste, a little bit too throwback hokey. That might not be the right word, but it was definitely going for that Richard Donner Superman kind of style, which I've never really been a fan of, so I understand those that are, but overall I was like, okay, good sequel, not anywhere near as good as the first one.
Okay, Durban.
So I saw it on HBO Max Christmas Day, and I was really ticked that it didn't just drop at midnight and I had to wait till lunchtime to watch it. But that's where I saw it. And this is where I'm going to echo Cody a little bit. My first thing was, wait, how much time do I have left on this movie? Like, while I was going, it was slow. That was my biggest negative, is I think the pacing of this movie was too slow, especially compared to the urgency and the good pacing that they had in the first one. They had a lot of great character development, great character moments, all in this sense of we got to hunt down and find Ares. And this one, it just felt like it was trying to copy, well, maybe copy is the wrong word, but emulate the feeling of those Superman movies, Superman 1 and 2, that came out in the 80s. And it took the pace of Wonder Woman and slowed it way down. Other than that, and a couple timeline problems I have, like I feel like it kind of breaks continuity a little bit, but otherwise I feel like it had good action when it got to the action. I did like the overall story. The villain was pretty cool. So there were things about this movie that I really liked and were really good, but it doesn't reach the majesty of the first one.
Lindsay.
There's so much to unpack
Everything that
with
Cody
everything
said,
that
the opposite.
Yeah, everything that Cody just said. Oh.
Yeah, just gut reaction. So this is your gut reaction. You come out of it and just watched it.
Was that I really liked it. We had John's niece from out of town come over to watch it with us. We had like big spread laid out, and I did not find it slow whatsoever. I didn't. By the time it was done, and it was 12:30 a.m. I was like, it's 12:30 in the morning. Like, Oliver's going to be up in 5.5 hours. Like, oh, fuck. I did not feel like that much time had passed. I did not feel like it dragged whatsoever. And I really, really enjoyed it. I still cried and I laughed, and I loved little nuggets that they threw in, like for people who are familiar with the comics. And like, that's total fan service for me, and I appreciate it. And I don't see as many problems as other people do. Like Durbin said, I do recognize some of like certain issues and like continuity or like back stories that they've changed from the comics, and it kind of irked me, but I didn't feel that they were big enough changes that it took away from the film for me.
Okay, CP.
Just want to note that Lindsay cursed on your channel before I did. Just for
I know. I was going to point that out. Yeah.
Sorry.
Apologies, people.
So I was kind of. It is a little silly. I could take silly, especially in the year 2020, but when the main piece of the movie was about wishing and wishes coming true, I was like, oh, we're gonna really be silly. And then they had the scene where he was trying on clothes, that that montage, like out of I don't know, Pretty Woman. I was like, oh no, this is really silly. But inoffensive. I'm split down the middle. A 2.5 out of 5. Just in the year 2020, we could use a little silly and color.
That 2.5 stings like a Cody 3.5.
Oh,
3.4.
3.4.
Yes, important distinguishment there.
Sean.
So I was lucky enough. I got to see it a couple weeks early at AMC Stubbs early screening, and it was like a freak occurrence that some guy randomly messaged me like, "Hey man, are you going to one of these early showings?" I was like, "No, I don't have an AMC on my end of town, so I'm not a member of their program." And he was like, "Mel, maybe I can go with you, or you can come with me." And he kind of like, we tried to see if I could go see it with him in Houston, even though I don't know the guy. And that didn't work out. And it was like, cause I didn't want to have to watch the movie Christmas Day and do a review. And so I was like, I'll do anything to go see the movie today. And 2:00 in the afternoon,
I'm wondering where this story's at.
2 in the afternoon, the guy messages me. He goes, "Hey man, the Austin showing just opened up to the public to get passes for it." So I go on there, get passes, and it says first come, first serve, just drive and get it. So I basically printed out a pass, jumped in my car and drove 40 miles across town, and then waited at a mall movie theater for 4 hours for the movie to start, and then got in. And so it's like, so I'd invested a lot of time into watching this movie. So maybe that swayed my initial impression. But so my first impression was like, this, I just felt like it was all over the place, my emotions about it, because I would be like, this sequence was great. Oh, that was really funny. I had a lot of fun with this. And I grew up on the Richard Donner Superman, so I appreciated kind of the throwback vibe to them. But then at the same time, there are all these other elements to it. I was like, they just want me to accept way too much. They want me to suspend way too much disbelief to put all these pieces together. And like a World War I pilot goes to a museum and finds a working jet that can fly across the globe, and he knows how to fly it. I mean, I get that we're watching a movie about a lady with a magic lasso from the gods, but
it wants you to move.
But you have to have some rules. There has to be some logic, and just kind of even as we move into the third act of the film, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, wait, so he literally says like, wait, so it's like I'm reaching out and touching everyone. He goes, yes, it's like you're touching everyone, and so that wordplay ends up being enough for his magic to work. And then he goes out there and she puts the lasso of truce around his foot and is sending out through the radar system or whatever, or the satellites, and somehow that touches everyone. Like, okay, come on, you guys are asking me to accept an awful lot on this one.
I saw a perfect comment. It wasn't on my channel. It was something I saw somebody share on Twitter, but it said, so we're supposed to accept that everybody on Earth just revoked their wish. We can't even get everybody to wear fucking masks.
Right, right, exactly.
Perfect.
Well, this is in the 80s. This isn't 2020.
That's true. That is true.
The thing is, don't forget, it's not really important that everyone revokes their wish. It's only important that Maxwell Lord revokes his wish.
Okay.
Is it really?
Everybody got
I know
their
he's the
wish
granter, but would his renounce of his wish take away everybody else's? Really?
Yeah, that's why Cheetah is no longer the apex predator. She still has Wonder Woman's powers because she made her first wish on the stone,
Mm-hmm.
So that wish still counts.
But the stone is destroyed, and he became the stone, and he renounced.
No. The thing is, that granted her wish, right? To be like Diana. She got that wish. Then he became the stone, and she gave her another wish. So when he was no longer the stone, that wish was taken away. She didn't revoke taking
and gave it to her.
Yeah, she didn't revoke her wish, because a lot of people are like, revoked a wish and that, but she never revoked her wish. So there's only one explanation for why she no longer looks like a cheater, and that's that once he, revoked his wish, it had a chain effect on everything that came after.
I think even this is a problem in that
all the ones that he granted also don't exist.
I think even involved with the fact that we're having to have this level of debate about exactly what happened at the end. There's a certain lack of clarity in the film at times too.
I would have to watch the scene again, but I remember looking at Cheetah's face, and I thought that the impression they were giving was that she had a change of heart at the last second. Like that was my take. Yeah, see, it was something about the way her facial expression was, where she was like, "Fine, I'll revoke my wish."
No, I think the look on her face at the end is intentionally ambiguous, but I think what I got from it was a sense of longing for what she's lost, which is her cheetah powers.
I'm on board with Bri with that, but I will say that I will be kind of upset if it is like what Cody believes, and she did just revoke her wishes, and now she doesn't have that strength, and then it's like, okay, in any other installments, we're not going to have any cheetah now, because she's kind of a big deal, and I would be really upset to not see her.
She is apparently coming. If Patty Jenkins is able to do the third film,
I thought she was. I thought they already signed that on.
Yeah, I think
Well, that's what I hear. But apparently she is bringing Cheetah back, and I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, how could she come back? She was human at the end. She'll be like, 70 years old." And it's like, no, she won't, because she's still got Diana's powers. She doesn't.
I just want to know how you do a third one and still proclaim, like what Bruce Wayne did in Justice League. You've been gone for 100 years. Why weren't you a beacon of light? That's one of the big continuity.
This is another criticism that annoys me, right? Because
welcome to Brian Defends 484.
Yes, okay, I will. This criticism that everyone's leveling at it, right? This is the criticism everyone's leveling at it. That everyone saw her, this, that, and the other. Everyone should know about her. I'm sorry, but you can level that exact same criticism at the first film. Because and in the first film, they at least had photographic evidence of her existence. You have all those soldiers in the First World War that saw her go over and take out half the.
But it was the time between the first film and Batman v Superman. I thought that she was there, but it was since
100 years ago. I walked away. That's what she said.
Yeah, she said 100 years ago I walked away, but no one else knew she was. There's nothing in society that said, "Oh, Wonder Woman is a thing." Otherwise, otherwise people in the 80s would already know who she is anyway. So we wouldn't be having this debate about. So after the First World War, people don't know she exists. Somehow, some way, she goes off the radar and nothing is mentioned. She don't become an urban legend, a myth, or whatever. People just don't know she exists. So if you don't level the same criticism at the first film, then it doesn't stand here as well.
I mean,
because what do we have? What do we have really? We have.
I mean, like the foundation of the universe, the starting point for doing Man of Steel was David Goyer pitches to Christopher Nolan, what would it be like if this guy suddenly appeared? Like, what if Superman suddenly emerged, we realized there were aliens, and it would be this groundbreaking, world-shattering event. That was their premise for building out Man of Steel that launched this universe. The concept was that was the start of these fantastical beings being known to the public. Yeah. That's not really compatible with this movie. This movie ends with everyone getting a wish and the world going to nuclear war, and then it's over. I just don't see how this is compatible with where this other stuff went.
But from what we get in this film, who knows that Wonder Woman is responsible for saving everyone? Because everyone keeps saying, "Oh, she reveals herself to the world at the end." All they do is hear a voice. They hear her talking to them.
Didn't they establish in the beginning that there was some kind of like there's this woman being sighted everywhere. Yep. She's saving malls and so to me it was a bit of a stretch that there's this underlying question, like, who's this chick that's like saving people? And then all of a sudden, within a couple of weeks, the world is saved by a female's voice. I don't know.
She runs down what, I don't know, is that Congress Avenue? I don't know what it is in Washington, D.C., but she runs down the middle of the biggest street in Washington, D.C., in front of the Capitol in her uniform, throws a lasso into the sky and flies. So she does that in front of everybody.
The Wonder Woman sightings, it's the wishes. It's the fact that before Superman and Alien appears, a magical supernatural event, whether you see Wonder Woman or not, has showed up in the world. So now when Man of Steel shows up, it's like, oh yeah, another thing like that.
Yeah, why did it have to be 84? What was the specific reason this had to take place in 1984?
I was born in 1984.
No, there is a very specific reason actually for that, and I'll get to it. But let me just read. We've got a couple of super chats, and I don't want them to disappear and for me to forget about them.
We can do them at the end.
Are you keeping count?
I could if you want.
If you could, that'd be cool. Just because I've done one of these.
Before we move on, just really quickly, regardless if it's a continuity issue or not, that's kind of the heart of where my disappointment was that what I loved about the first Wonder Woman so much was that, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with the character, admittedly. So when I see her fly, to me, that was the first time I was like, "What the fuck? She flies?" Okay, but
it wasn't.
When you get the first movie. Whatever. When you get the first movie, it's this supernatural being that is put into this real world situation of World War I, and it just felt very grounded and real, similar to how Man of Steel was, which is why I love that movie, where this film really embraced the fantastical side of things and the fantasy side. So that just, to me, that was a big tonal shift that wasn't what I wanted.
Okay, going back to the 84 thing, I think it's very a lot of people when they got this it's Wonder Woman 1984. I think what a lot of people were expecting was Stranger Things, loads of pop cultural references, this, that, and the other. But that's not why the year in which this is set is of any importance. They've got no interest in pop culture references. The importance comes from the fact that this particular time is famous for being the time in which you take what you want when you want it and you take it now. It's every man for himself. It's greed is good. This is Wall Street. It's God and Gecko territory. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, this film's just a nonsense thing about Trump." I didn't see anything to do with Trump when I saw this. What I saw,
that pissed me off when I saw that, because it's like, can we get through one movie without it being drugged into politics? Like, I saw that argument.
About something it's not. Yeah,
I saw that argument and I was like, okay, so guy that wants power is an allegory for Trump. Well, then every villain in comic book history qualifies for that.
Yeah, it's complete crap. And the fact that this guy has a redemptive arc, he redeems himself at the end. I'm sorry, that's not Trump. If you were making this about Trump, this guy would not have a redemptive arc. So, so for me, it's very specific that it is set in this time, because the whole theme of of the film is about taking the easy route, is about getting what you want without actually having to work for it. Hence the reason we have this wishing MacGuffin, because it allows people to get there via the easy route. Which also brings me to the main gripe I've heard with people, which is the rape of this guy by Diana, which I'm not even going to go on that, because that's just whatever.
I just think it's awkward. It's awkward. I mean, it's an interesting idea to bring Chris Pine back, but then when a wall magically materializes and nukes magically materialize, why can't Steve Trevor magically materialize?
Because no, there's an answer for that. There is an answer for that, and it feeds into exactly what I was just saying about the year this is set, the theme of the film, what it's all about, getting what you want the easy way, and also accepting loss. Now, the wishing stone, when you make a wish, you don't only get what you want, but it takes away that which makes you, which makes you it's the most special thing about you. So to bring Steve back the way that they do, i.e. putting them in this guy's body, they're putting Wonder Woman in a position where her morality is being compromised. Because in order to keep Steve Trevor in the world, in her life, she has to say that another human being is extinguished from existence in doing so. So the whole time that Steve Trevor is now in this world, Wonder Woman is losing that sense of what makes her who she is, which is her compassion, her love for humanity. And that's why when she has that final conversation with Steve Trevor and he says, you know what you got to do, you got to let go, it feeds back to the introduction, the opening scene in which she had that choice to make, where she wanted to take the easy route, and she took the shortcut to win the tournament, but she wasn't allowed to. She wasn't allowed, and she took the wobbly about it. And it's like, and that's the theme of the whole film. It's about taking the easy route, getting what you want without deserving it, and not dealing with loss, not accepting that loss is just a part of life. And this whole story is all about that. It's set up in the opening scene. Again, a lot of people said that opening scene, whilst good to watch, probably the best part of the film, was just totally pointless. It wasn't. It sets up what the whole film is about. So when bringing Steve Trevor back the way that they do is
that's for people who need
specific.
Brian Lomax to tell them what the theme of the movie is.
Yeah. I agree with you, Brian. Because I like that opening sequence, because I think it does set what the whole message of the movie is. So I love that opening sequence, and I think it fits perfectly. And I agree with your interpretation, but I wish that they explained that interpretation a little bit better, because what it feels like, and this is just, when I watched it the second time, I was able to dig deeper, but on an initial view, what it feels like is her price to pay is losing her powers. Yeah. And it just seemed like this kind of side thing that, the guy's body was snatched by Steve Trevor. So upon a second watch, when you go deeper, you can kind of see those layers. But on an initial watch, it just feels like her price to pay is losing her powers, and then this other guy's dead now.
Except I've only seen it once, and I got that on the first watch.
It's all about reaction and reaction.
I mean, I think there's a side to it, though, that you're watching it through the lens of you want to defend the movie, therefore you're looking for a logical reason that the movie doesn't actually give.
Uh-oh. I think that...
You filled in a gap, the movie doesn't fill in that.
No, I think if I came out of it the way that you did, where, if I didn't pick up on that, then I'd probably come out of it thinking the same thing, but I didn't. I did pick up on that. When I came out of the movie, that was one of the that was like the big thing as to why I loved it so much. It got me all fired up, and I have this other channel, Movie Evangelist. I'm going to be doing a video for that, because it came to me when I came out of the film. That's exactly what it was about to me, and that's why I loved it so much. So when I came home, and everyone was like online, trolling the internet saying, it's the worst film ever, because these days you can't just have a good film with problems. It's got to either be the best film ever or the worst film ever, and it's like, no, it's just... I
don't think it's reading too much into anything when, like, as we were already talking about, like 1984 and like the time of greed, and showing that your actions have reactions, and even things that you want have repercussions.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, my 13-year-old niece got that from the movie. So if that wasn't something that you guys kind of grasp, maybe that's not there.
But it's all set up in the opening scene. Set up in the opening scene.
I think the idea of costs, don't cheat it, everything, that's there. But like specifically the plot point of why was a man's life stolen so Steve could come back,
because she is blinded by everything that she wants, like most people.
True, but her thing was losing her powers, and that was the big deal. They made out of it.
But it's not just about losing her powers. It's about losing who she is. Because if you look at the opening sequence, that's what Hippolyta. I don't know how you pronounce her name, Hippolyta or whatever. And the woman who trains her, she gives her this whole lecture about, you could win. Yeah, you could have taken that shortcut and you'd win. Great, you show the world you got your powers and all that. But it's about
at what cost?
Kind of person. Yeah, at what cost? What person are you going to become as a result of taking that easy route? You lose the sense of self, of who you are as a person, the thing that makes you a true hero. And actually, that's why you need to deal with loss. You need to learn to live with loss, because loss is a part of life. So when we get Steve coming back in the way he does, it just harkens back to that, which is that actually that's the conflict that has been set up at the beginning. And is Wonder Woman going to learn that lesson? Because she's still living it. She's still.
So I have a question. If Steve just came back as Steve, and her price to be paid was she loses her powers and she's no longer able to protect humanity from all these things going on, would that not get the exact same message across?
No, because I just think that it would put the focus too much, I think, on the powers, on the fact that her powers have been lost. But by very specifically doing this thing where another human being pays the price, for it personalizes that specific aspect of what is going on, which is that in order for Stephen, I keep calling Stephen, in order for Steve to be alive, someone else is literally paying the price for it.
Yeah, but
so it's
she was so blinded by what she wanted that she wasn't recognizing that, and that would be normally something that is in her character, to think of others before herself.
So if you get rid of that element, yes, you have this moment where Wonder Woman is heroic. You still get, oh yeah, she's got her heroic character, so to speak. She's done this for the world, but by doing it the way they do, they really personalize it so that it hones in on the fact that actually what you want, if you take it the easy route, hurts other people.
Well, it hurts other people if she's not able to help them.
She had to be held back in the Quidditch race thing. She was winning. She had to be held back by her trainer.
I watched it. I didn't have the issue of, oh, she's raping this random guy or anything. That was something I actually kind of laughed when I saw people. When I saw that, there was actually videos getting made. This is the first time I've heard that. Yeah, there was actually videos getting made, like canceling WW84 for this. If it was a woman, would it be the same? And I was like, I didn't get that at all. But I did go the entire movie going, I wonder why he had to go back as somebody else. Like I understand what you're saying, and I could connect those dots if I really wanted to, but I still think that same exact message gets across without that. And that just, it's an extra question that the movie didn't fully get there for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a glaring issue, but if you asked me, like, hey, do you think it would have worked just the same if he just came back, like the wall and the missiles and everything else? I'd have been like, yeah.
I would like to say that I don't think this film is perfect, okay? And like Sean's pointed out, and I see he's left the apologist. Yes, Sean, you pointed out, the thing about how am I over defending it in essence because of the level of attack, and I think to a certain extent I am, in the same way that I did with BVS, and it's just like if people came out of this and said, it's a good film, but it's got some issues, but no, I liked it. It's a good film. It's fine. I wouldn't have a problem. But it's the degree of hatred.
Well, you got to understand too that a lot of that is not
welcome to the internet,
real thoughts. It's a product of just the internet being the internet. A year where we have basically 3 blockbusters in 12 months, and this was the first one that was available for everybody to watch and judge at home. So everybody was just. I'm not saying if you did not like this movie genuinely, then you're wrong or that you're just clouded. There's people that just legitimately don't like it. But like you said, the people that are out there saying worst ever, horrible, garbage, all these hyperbole videos for clickbait and stuff like that, that's people that were starved for something to bitch about.
Right.
Yeah.
They get the movie and they go, oh, I didn't have to pay for this, so let me rip it apart at home and then get views for saying it's the worst thing ever.
Sean?
Yeah, like on my spoiler review for it, I had a bunch of people in the comment section being like, Sean, you're really struggling on this review. Why don't you just say that it's bad? Well, because that's not... You're trying to put me in this box or this box, and I'm in this box. Like, I liked a lot of things about this movie. There are things I loved about this movie, and there's a lot of things I had issues with. Therefore, during my review, I'm trying to have nuance to my take on it. And the internet doesn't really like that these days. And it seemed like there was a lot of brewing anger for this film before it even came out in certain portions of YouTube. And they were looking for things to hate about it.
Yeah.
And I get why a lot of people would watch this movie and be like, a stone that grants wishes, and the big climax is a TV broadcast involving a magic lasso.
It's a comic book.
That's super. That's like that's pretty far into comic booky, and especially with the way most comic book movies are made now.
Yeah, but again, that's the problem, though, isn't it? It's Marvelization of everything. Because Marvel have done it so brilliantly, they've done it a very specific way. Now people think, people who aren't comic book readers or don't come from that world, don't exist in that world, they have a particular blueprint in their head of what a comic book movie is. Well, and actually, when you veer away, like if you released Richard Donner's Superman today, people would rip that apart.
It's right.
Well, there's a reason why some methods of filmmaking, especially with comic book movies, have kind of been left behind, and some of it just doesn't work in the present time. But I would even say that the DCEU, like take Marvel out of the equation, the DC tone and approach that's already been established, this movie fights to fit in with that for me. Not just, even if it was just Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 2 and that was it, I would be like, two very different movies. But when you got Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, Aquaman, even as goofy as Aquaman gets at times, there's some really dark, like borderline horror. Yeah, we know your opinion. There's moments where it's so dark.
Are you okay today, Cody?
What? I'm fine. Well, you're only here to say that when I'm talking. There's moments in Aquaman that are so dark with the trenches and everything that even when you go to this movie, it's like, that's pretty glowy for the DCEU. So, I mean, they if they could flesh it out a little bit more with some more movies like that, that'd be one thing. But this is a big step in that direction where the rest of the universe is still kind of over here.
For people who thought that was an extremely bitchy comment from Cody, then he was actually just quoting something that Lindsay said in a private chat. So,
correct.
Yeah, so it wasn't quite as bitchy as it sounded, but
it was.
Wow. I had issues with it. One of the ones that stood out was the
acceptance is the first step.
I can't remember who it was who said, but they mentioned about the plane and how you get it out of a museum and yet it's got enough fuel in it to take off. Yeah. That ain't happening. I'm sorry, but they don't put planes in museums that still have full fuel tanks in. Those things are emptied because they're on display. They're a fire hazard. It don't happen. So there are things like that I notice, But then I watch something like Richard Donner's Superman that to me is a classic that I love. I love the vibe of it, the feel and everything. It's just, but I look at that and I'm like, dude, you're turning back time by flying around the world. And it's just like, there are certain things that for me, it's all about the tone of the film. And I think the things that happen within this film suit the tone of the film. And for me, it was like going into a theater for the first time in 6-7 months, in which it's just quite frankly been a real crap time for most people, and sitting there watching a film that was light, was fun, had energy to it, and most importantly for me, had this story about redemption and about that just had really great themes to explore, hopeful themes. Wonder Woman should be a hopeful character, and this is another thing about DC that they can never seem to win on. Like with Superman, Man of Steel, the biggest criticism of that is that Superman just isn't the hopeful character people think he should be. Well, Wonder Woman should be that as well. When you think about the two DC characters that symbolize hope, it's Superman and Wonder Woman. They kind of go hand in hand with each other. So I feel like they do kind of get that tone here where they make her this really hopeful character. And no, people don't have it. Instead, they say it's silly, it's too light, and it's just, okay.
Well, you're not going to make anybody happy. So Superman Returns came out, and everybody criticized that for being too light, too hokey, and too cheesy. Then Man of Steel comes out, and everybody criticizes it for being too dark and unhopeful, and it's like, well, then how the crap can you ever win that fight?
There's this trilogy in the middle, the Dark Knight trilogy, that seemed to that balance perfect.
Well, that's Batman. It's just Batman. You just go down and you win.
Superman. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Batman's easy. You do him dark, you're fine. Do him Joel Schumacher, you're screwed.
Yeah, my experience is that it's really difficult to please DC fans. They don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're saying, that you see that in the response to the DCEU as a whole. No matter what they do, Wonder Woman seems to be the only one that was almost universally praised. Everything else, divisive or has harsh critics.
There's this prejudice, which this like Marvel, DCEU, Sony, Xbox. There's this fandom thing that happens, that going into it, they just want to crap on it.
Yeah.
Because Marvel's great and DCU isn't.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Marvel is great and DC isn't. Wait, is that not what we were saying?
Wait, where'd Sean go?
To be clear, in case anyone doesn't know, I much prefer the DC characters to the actual Marvel characters, but I think the MCU is great. Just to clarify my actual position.
They've done different types of movies really well. Different tones, different... maybe not. I'm sorry. So Brian winced when I said that. you winced when I said that they did different tones. Really.
Oh no, I was trying to get the lid off my bottle.
Perfect timing. MCU does well. Oh man, yeah. I
didn't even hear what you said, to be honest.
Did anybody else feel like I know apparently they might have more plans for Cheetah, so maybe after we watch Wonder Woman 3, this will be a moot point. But did anybody else feel that by the end, the two villain storylines weren't wrapped up as well as they could have been? Because obviously we've already talked about the call it ambiguity or confusion over what happened with Cheetah. Did she get her powers revoked because, Magic Stone Boy did it, or because she decided to? Who knows? But that's the last we see of her. But even with Max Lord, I revoke my wish. He runs out, magically runs into his son, the only person in the entire, White House lawn that's just there. And then that's all we get. So it's like, okay, the whole world knows that this guy did all of this. Is he going to be burned at the stake? Is he going to prison? Does he get away to go live life with his son? I kind of felt like,
does it matter? Because does it matter? To me, it doesn't matter what happens to Maxwell Lord. What matters is the personal journey. The redemption comes from him choosing his son and accepting whatever consequences happen. I don't need to know what happens to him. All I need to know is that his heart has... He's made the decision in his heart to go for his son, to choose family and not riches and all that kind of stuff. Once you do that, that's it. That's the character's arc. That's his journey done.
Did they really establish his relationship with his son strong enough for it to matter?
Yeah.
I think so. I think there was a good relationship between him and his son, because I think they did a fake out with Max Lord. Because you see in the beginning, he talks about his vitamins. Do you have my vitamins on my desk? And as he's granting wishes, he's getting more and more unhealthy. And I think that's the fake out, because I think what's really the most precious thing to him is his son. And he sees that in the end when the lasso of truth is around his ankle. And so he sees what is really being stolen from him. And it's not just his health. It's his relationship with his son. And so I did like his character arc. I liked that, because I think you could tell he loved his son, but he just loved power more. And he thought he had to have power to be an object of pride for his son and to be great. And
I felt
in a twisted way he was doing it for his son.
I mean, in the beginning, he was more of a huckster and trying to get his business off, is what I felt.
But I felt like he was a huckster because of his son. He wants to be a big deal, and he wants his son to see him as a big deal. He wants to be something people look up to. And I feel like when you look at a lot of hucksters, that's the thing. Like, maybe they weren't treated good as kids, so now they have to get all this attention. And so, that's what he was doing. And you get that background too. He wasn't treated good as a kid. He wants his son to look up to him. So I feel like I liked his character, and I liked Pedro Pascal in that role.
Yeah.
To throw my 2 cents out on the end of the film, I definitely felt the end needed to elaborate more on the consequences of what happened. This guy almost blew up the entire world with news. Like, we were about to nuke the entire world, and then at the end, it's like, oh, he's hugging his son. It's all good. It's like, whoa, that probably should have some consequence. But but kind of even rewinding a little bit before that, I wasn't. I've seen it twice, and I wasn't entirely clear on what he was trying to do in the second half of the film. Like, why was he still going down this path after nukes are coming out? After the president's like, let's get more nukes and get them ready to fire. I wasn't tracking with what was the logic of why what was he trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but is that not greed in general? Is that not greed in general? When you get more, you want more, and before you know where you are, you've lost sight of why you were doing it in the first place.
Yeah, perhaps, but
Maybe.
But there's still some sense of like, if you're just saying, oh, he just wants more, but more what? Like, what is the more that he wants?
He does state at one point that he's going to be top dog, as in he's going to be, in charge of everything. So he becomes president. Great, that makes him in charge of America. But if he can get into the TVs and the radio stations in every home around the world, then he can get everyone to literally make him king of the world.
That was Batman Forever's.
Yeah. There's a lot of Batman in this movie, actually. It's just I know, Cody, you mentioned Poison Ivy. I actually thought the more likely go-to was Catwoman. If you look at Batman Returns,
yeah, that too. And that was
they're both cats for a start, Cheetah and Catwoman, and then they have that same arc where they're kind of put under the foot by men and whatever, and they both wear glasses and are kind of geeky and like.
Maybe it was the blonde hair. I don't know. It was just the way she came in. I was like, oh, it's Pamela Ivy.
I don't think that she was beaten up. I just thought she was a bit of an introvert. I never
ignored her. No one paid any attention to her. And when she dropped all that stuff on the floor, everyone was just like, yeah, whatever, bitch. So
I would have given it an extra half star if somebody walked by and said, whatever, bitch. This kept going.
So, it's not to the degree of Max Shrek kind of pushing her out of a window or anything like that. But she's clearly someone who's who lacks confidence, perhaps because she's never been shown the kind of attention that someone like Diana gets or whatever, But so. Yeah, for me, I just like watching the film. I saw parallels to Batman Returns and the way Selena Kyle kind of developed in that and became Catwoman. But and again, like I say, the fact that they're both cat-related villains, it just kind of went. This is Batman Returns. We've seen this, but no, I liked
the wardrobe montage though. That 5 stars.
You've got a bee in your bonnet about that flipping montage, aren't you? Go on, CP. Tell the world.
There's a couple of there's a couple of moments that felt traditionally rom-commy, and when they were in the plane above the fireworks, I literally felt like it was a shot-for-shot replication of a scene from 50 Shades. Like,
don't they have a clothing montage,
personal favorite
wardrobe montage in the first Wonder Woman?
Do they?
Yeah,
they do.
Because they reverse the roles is what they do.
Yeah, it's a parallel. Yeah.
So her adapting to human clothing, and they take her and like the little secretary ladies there with them and stuff. Yeah. That's all in the first one too. But nobody had a problem with her adjusting.
I don't have a problem. I just think it's.
You just brought it up 3 times. You just like it.
What the hell? I thought that was a commercial or something. I was like, did Brian not make
interrupting live videos now?
I was saving that for Cody, but I had to use it then.
Oh, isn't it?
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
When we did that Creatures 31 stream, man, I could not wait to toss you to Critters. I was like, Brian, tell me about Critters.
I was saving that for you, but CP, you left yourself wide.
I didn't know what happened. I was like, we have ads now? What's going on?
Oh, man.
Okay. Right. Now, me and Lindsay, obviously, go on.
To Lindsay's point, the first one didn't feel like it was like a stereotypical female-driven rom-com, whereas there were moments in '84 that felt very Pretty Woman-ish to me, is what I was trying to say. Regardless of, the three times mentioning the wardrobe.
It feels more exaggerated for comedic setup in '84.
Yeah, the wardrobe montage, it was the sword that was funny when she tried to hold onto the sword but looked like somebody in London.
It's so like, when you're talking about parachute pants, like these are like setups for jokes in a rom-com. I didn't hate the scene. Like I had fun with it, so I'm not criticizing it. But I get why it feels a little bit. I get why it pops a little bit. Like, wait, what is this, like a rom-com?
Well, and again, the plane when they're over the fireworks and she's amazed and like
I loved that scene, to be honest.
Okay, well, I mean,
like just objectively speaking, that's not an inherently bad thing, is it? That's just. I don't want a rom-com thing in my superhero.
No, well, it just felt a little soft. It's Wonder Woman. She's lived how long, experienced how much, and being above fireworks really gets her going.
I think it's fireworks with Steve. The fireworks are really going with these
literal and figurative fireworks.
Exactly.
I've seen the CGI get mentioned multiple times in the chat. Did anybody have major issues with Cheetah's CGI?
No, it looked like all other CGI when they do that kind of stuff nowadays, and it just didn't bother me at all.
It felt intentionally shadowed, like it was all in the dark.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty ugly looking scene with the way that it's nighttime converted or whatever it was. I just don't think it looks very good in general. I don't like the design of full blown converted Cheetah. So I didn't think that was a good sequence. So in general,
here's another one. Go ahead.
I was looking forward to a really good smackdown between those two. Once because we'd seen in the trailers that she becomes proper like Cheetah, and I was looking forward to when they then two get together. Because when you look at the action sequences in the first Wonder Woman, there was some real power to them. Like the bit where she knees into that soldier and sends you through the wall. It's just and a lot of the battle sequences in that really they almost feel Snyder-esque, more Snyder than anything else. So I think when we get a
question about that scene, and before I do, let me say I side on I like this movie. But this is just a general question here. That fight ends where she holds Cheetah underwater and they all get electrocuted. And Cheetah is either just as strong as Wonder Woman or maybe a little bit more strong at this point. So why does Cheetah get electrocuted and Wonder Woman doesn't?
I asked the same question.
Where you at with that one, Lomax?
I did not. I have not said this film is perfect. There are things about it that exactly like
High
that.
Five.
Yeah.
So when I posted about it on Facebook the other day, a friend of mine actually he emailed me a load of criticisms that he had, and one of them was, why didn't she get electrocuted? And I didn't really know what he was talking about, to be honest, and it's only now when he's mentioned that, because obviously I've seen it once and I'd forgot what that was a reference to. So, but yeah, that's a valid criticism. I think it's a perfectly valid criticism. I think the plane thing with the fuel is a valid criticism. I think the mall sequence where she has the fight is actually unnecessary from a story point of view. Because if you look at what's necessary from that sequence, it's that a jewelry store is robbed, and a bunch of artifacts. Well, they could have had mall security or what. We didn't even see it. We didn't even to see that the store get robbed. All we need to know is that the FBI have got these artifacts that, so that whole sequence could have been done away with, I personally think. So, again, just because I defend the film and because I rate it quite highly, it doesn't mean that I don't see flaws. It doesn't mean that I don't.
Zeus, doesn't she like have? She's riding lightning. Maybe that's it. Is just she just?
Oh yeah, brightest night right there. His
lightning.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. There you go.
Yeah.
She does that in the first film, doesn't she? In the first film, doesn't
she creates lightning and throws it. So maybe she has no problem with electricity because of her relation to Zeus. Thank you, brightest night. I did not catch that.
Boom. There you go.
Right. We do have a super chat that kind of goes into a question that I was going to ask from Daniel Grant.
Let's see where that is.
Just towards the bottom. We're not too far from it.
Yep, I've got that. So, final scene: Wonder Woman flies to base in regular outfit. When she arrives, gold wing outfit. Did she stop halfway and go back home to change?
Yes.
I didn't have an issue with that, but I was a little bit curious on what the overall point of the outfit was because Cheetah tore through it like aluminum, and I was like, okay, it looks cool, but it didn't seem like it really enhanced her all that much.
I was disappointed by the amount of gold suit that we got. I was expecting more gold suit throwdown, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on Cody's question there, the suit was built when that Wonder Woman, the what's her name?
The Carter.
Carter. It was built for her when she was being attacked by men, wasn't it?
Yes, but regular men, not somebody.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Regular men. Yeah. So it wasn't built to withstand attacks from someone who has the same kind of physical strength that Wonder Woman has. It was built for attacks against regular people. So.
I could buy that, but I agree with Sean. I wish that we had more in the golden suit throwdown because the trail, and maybe this is marketing fault, how the marketing made this like this is going to be a great, big, huge moment. And then we get there and it's a cool moment and it's over.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's the trailer used that as the peak of it. Like, look, she's in a gold suit with wings. Yeah. And then it's over.
Yeah. I agree. I do. Yeah. So we talked about a lot of the negatives, and that's primarily because when you look on the internet, that's all we see is negatives. It's crap film. It's crap film. It's so underwhelming. Obviously, me and Lindsay really loved it. Obviously, in case you didn't pick up on that. So you, the rest of you guys, throw some positives out of us. What did you like about the film?
I think that scene where she has to revoke her wish and she has that final moment with Steve Trevor was the best acting that I've seen from Gal Gadot yet. And I think that one scene is powerful enough to where she'll probably get more roles based off of that one moment. I was one of the people that wasn't sure if she was the right casting for Wonder Woman before the movie came out because all I knew her from was the really thin chick from Fast and Furious. And she proved the world wrong, and I loved her in that role. And as far as I'm concerned, she is Wonder Woman. But as far as genuine acting, that was the best I've ever seen from her.
Yeah. I mean, I like the whole story and that message. So you have a device that you can get any wish that you want. And I thought that's a great plot for Wonder Woman because the first movie is about love. You know, it's not what you deserve, it's what you believe, and she chooses to believe in love. As cheesy as that sounds, it's awesome the way it's done in the movie. So the first movie is love. This movie is truth. And I like it because it like brings in the role of the lasso of truth, that everything needs to be built on that foundation of truth, because when it's not, everything begins to crumble. So throughout the movie, we see that everybody's cheating. The god of lies has created this stone, and now everybody's buying into the lie. And you see human greed, selfishness, all the shortcuts we want to take on full display, and how destructive it truly is. So even though it's kind of unrealistic to me on the one hand that everybody renounced their wish at the end, like that's not realistic. On the other hand, I like the picture that it portrayed. What if mankind repented? What if we turned away from the lie and turned back to the truth? And so I liked the picture that portrayed.
Okay.
So some positives. It was in focus. The cast is attractive. The credits were spelled correctly. So,
are you sure of that?
You read all the credits? Wow.
I haven't. Maybe let's take that one back. No, I think Patty Jenkins is pretty great with a lot of the individual moments, especially the character moments and the emotional scenes. When Steve first shows up, the way that it transitions to the way that what she's seeing and the way that that plays out, and it's set up beforehand of all these other guys are hitting on her, and then this one's actually Steve, and it just transitions very well done. Even the fireworks scene, whether it fits in the movie or not, it's directed really well, and it just kind of stirs some big emotions up. And so she's just really great at those moments. I think maybe grander storytelling is where there would be some more questions from people.
Okay.
Lindsay?
CP?
Oh.
Lindsay? CP?
I've already done my positives. Like I actually have quite a few negatives that.
Go on.
Maxwell Lord, his storyline, it's kind of disappointing to see them not, because they do so much fan service in the Wonder Woman films and in DC films in general, that they didn't stay more true to his character and his abilities. That kind of bothers me because I like to see the.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I'm unfamiliar with his comedy.
I only know Maxwell Lord from Smallville, so yeah, go ahead.
He's telepathic, actually.
Okay.
He has the ability to read minds and control people with his mind. So
this is a big departure.
Not having that in the film, kind of, it feels like he's being wasted somewhat. And if it comes to him being in another film, then like, are they going to show somehow he gets this ability, or I don't know. It seemed kind of wasteful for me, and those kind of continuity from comics to the big screen are things that I always pay attention to. Mm-hmm. It's a big reason why I've had a problem and an issue in the past with Man of Steel. And there are some things about Cheetah that I didn't like. And it was, somebody even commented in the chat, like, I feel like they should have used more prosthetics or something along those lines. Because it's one of those things like, oh, take off the glasses, I'm hot now. And
rom-com thing.
that didn't work for me so much, and I have much more respect for Barbara and her character than to have it kind of.
I mean, isn't it a little bit? I gotta walk my line carefully with this one. Isn't it a little bit?
I've just got my finger on standby with that train wreck video. Just give me a minute.
This is. How do I want to say this? You see it a lot in real life, to where a woman can be very naturally pretty, but a simple wardrobe change or makeup or whatever suddenly gets other eyes on her. Is that respectful enough? Is that kind of what they were going for? Is to seem like she's there, she has everything that she needs. It's just the confidence, and then all of a sudden she has the confidence. She's got heels, she's got designer outfits, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, look at Kristen Wiig."
But like the fact that she walked into the party. And they were like, "Oh, damn! Like this girl," sort of thing. Like,
before she was dressed up like, it's kind of like She's All That. She was dressed up like the first half of the movie.
But that's something that like would also work for Charles with the whole rom-com-y thing. And I don't feel that it works as service to her character, because they should have gone a little bit more balls deep with. Sorry,
a little ovaries deep.
I keep forgetting whose channel I'm on. And if you're gonna go that way, I wish that they would have kind of gone all out and made it just a little bit more believable.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. You know what Mama just said?
Yeah, I saw that on Mama.
Oh man.
You should have gone boom.
Mom. I'm talking to friends right now. Can you go back with Daddy, please?
No.
Go on, go upstairs. Go see Daddy.
Bye, buddy.
You got matching hairstyles. That's adorable.
I was going to say.
Was that it, Lindsay? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail you.
That's basically it. I was just kind of reinforcing my thoughts on that one, but for the most part,
more comic book validity.
Yeah, and people have issues with the mall scene. I think that if they had removed that mall scene, that people would have complained that we had to wait like 45 minutes to an hour before we even got an action sequence.
Yeah.
Like this,
there's no winning on that. Yeah, for sure.
But and it's also in, like I was saying before, like I'm still trying to find where it was from, but I've seen that scene before, right down to like the to the little girl, and it's either from one of the animated films or it was from one of the original comics. So they directly lifted that from somewhere.
What's the criticism against the mall scene? I don't think I've heard this one.
Well, Brian was saying that they didn't need it.
If you take it out, not the robbery bit, but just literally Wonder Woman showing up and them doing all the stuff. If you take that out, it literally wouldn't affect the story in any way.
I think it could, because people would be questioning, like, has she been doing anything for the last 8
I think
years?
that's what that scene was. It was building on that whole, there's this woman out there that's saving people, and then you have the little girl, and that's her symbol of, oh my God, it's her. Shh. Like, I think that's what the whole point of that scene was her kind of living up to that myth, that legend.
Yeah, but
of the criticisms, this one seems like the dumbest of them all.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked the mall scene. I thought it was fine. I love that she takes that thing off her head and it perfect magical boomerang that does exactly what she wants. And it's funny because I'm such a nerd here. It reminds me of Smallville. I like the fact that, Smallville, they don't call him Superman. He's just a figure in the shadows. And that's what Wonder Woman is. This is Wonder Woman's Smallville arc, where she's the Blur, basically. And so taking out the only problem I have with that mall scene is, even though she took out the cameras, everybody's seen her, and they could give a full description to a sketch artist if they wanted to. But beyond that, I like the mall scene, and I'm glad it was there because we did need that action sequence, and I'm glad we got it. So I don't really have any strong criticisms.
That's from my case.
Yeah. The thing is, like, if you take all those eyewitness accounts from that one event, okay, it creates a bit of an urban legend, a bit of a myth. But if Wonder Woman, like, literally ducks out now, stays away until BVS, then I think that's an urban legend that could die pretty quickly, to be honest. Because you've got she's not been on cameras. They've not got any evidence in that regard. So
I agree with you until the world almost explodes.
But again, they only hear her. There's
Well, that's
they
my
don't
question.
see her.
Do they hear her, or are they just seeing the truth? Because she's nowhere near a microphone or on camera.
I don't know. That's again the kind of ambiguity, unclarity, whatever you want to call it.
All my frustrations of suspending disbelief, just accepting things. There's that third act. Like, I don't really even know what's happening right now. I know the idea of what's being communicated. The actual specific of what does Patty Jenkins think is happening right now? I don't know.
Can we get her on the show right now? That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But the
just
thing
pops in.
They tell you, don't they? When they're in the White House, they say they've got this new satellite system that links up every basically TV and radio network around the world, so you could literally hack into any country and either tell them something or see what they're watching, this, that, and the other. So when Maxwell Lord is in that beam, basically sending the message out into every home around the globe, she cuts into it.
What is the beam?
Because he had to be in front of a camera with a microphone, so that way the beam takes the television signal to the screens. And I'm like, oh, sweet, set up for Zod and what Zod does. He must have that same particle technology. But the beam thing confused me because I don't understand what that is, why he had to stand there, and what was the significance. And the fact Wonder Woman's not in front of a camera, she's not in front of a microphone. I guess I can understand truth being sent in the beam through the particles and truth hitting the screens because everything lit up yellow. But I don't understand, like, are they hearing her? That's what I'm not.
But she's got the lasso of truth around Maxwell Lord at that point, hasn't she?
True. But are they hearing Maxwell Lord at that point? I argue they're not.
I know, but we've seen in the other DC movies, like when she wraps that around someone, it compels them to tell the truth.
Exactly. Yes.
It compels them to tell the truth. So in that moment, Maxwell Lord, I'm assuming, is telling the truth. But we're getting that through Wonder Woman. This is the
How
truth.
Are they hearing it?
Through the satellite system of whatever that device is.
A camera or a microphone. It's just particles at this point.
Everybody has a TV too,
and they speak English.
It was the 80s. Wouldn't these people also be watching VHS?
Yeah.
I would have been watching some VHS movies back in 1984.
Once again, the whole world doesn't need to hear it. Okay, only Maxwell Lord essentially needs to hear it, because once he rescinds his wish, it affects everyone else. So,
but I think that's the only point of confusion there is not him standing in the beam or the particles or the lasso sending truth through the particles. To me, the real point of confusion is when she says, "I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everyone else." And that's where I go, but are you? Do they hear you? How is this working? I have no trouble with the truth being caught up in particles and the truth hitting the screens, which is why they were yellow. And when people looked at that yellow, I'm fine with believing that they're seeing the truth of their greed. But when she said,
I have a few issues. Hello. Hey. I have a few issues with truth being able to be converted into satellite signals and truth being able to communicate it as the color yellow through a TV screen.
Yeah, because yellow is fear in DC Comics.
Well, Halloween 3 started that trend. See, Halloween 3.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not having Halloween here, mate. It's just,
just very similar.
Come.
Oh, so it felt a lot like Big. Is that better?
That'll do me.
Okay.
That'll do me. Yeah. Just
Brian is the dark. Oh, it doesn't show up. Never mind. Ruin my joke. Did anybody else feel? Not that again. This was not something I walked away like disgusted with, but it was something that I was like, oh well. Did anybody feel like the action sequences in this one didn't quite live up to the first movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were good. I liked them.
Granted, it's very hard to top that No Man's Land sequence. There was just no the first sequence, the Themyscira sequence, to me was kind of like the pinnacle of action in the movie, and that's the first 7 minutes.
When she caught those kids swinging, I mean, first
and
off,
then broke their backs on impact,
would kill them. Secondly, her letting go, and when she rolls, it's the fact that they look like she's rolling with dolls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, why do that? Why do that? Kids would have moved.
Some of
I did love all the stuff. I loved the stuff with the cars though, and the tanks.
Yes, that
and
was good. I like that.
That whole kind of chase sequence there, I actually really liked the way that
was
shot and orchestrated. So
I was more moved to tears with like her having to give up Steve. But when I watched the first Wonder Woman, like Cody was saying that like the No Man's Land, like I just tears streaming down my face the first time I watched that, and every time I watch that, because that scene is just so powerful. And they didn't really hit that point in this film for me personally. Like it was, I feel like that's what the gold suit should have been.
Yeah,
but it didn't really impact that heavily, and it should have been that kind of moment. But I feel like they rushed that, absolutely.
It felt like that's what they were intending, the I renounce my wish, and then pairing it with her floating, flying, whatever you want to call it. But to me, it was just because of the tonality of the film. As soon as she was floating, I was still confused at how she was able to do that because I have no comic book knowledge with her. But I think that's what they were intending that to be, was like a 1-2 punch with, the big emotional moment with, oh my God, she's finally doing it. And like you said, it was nowhere near the impact of her coming up that ladder. And
that felt a lot more like sacrifice and loss rather than power.
Yeah.
Which is what I think most people are looking for.
Because I said this in my review, I feel like the trailers made it pretty predictable that she was going to have to give up Steve. So when she gave him up and renounced her wish, it wasn't super emotional. But as funny as it looked while she was super gliding or falling with style, what I liked about that is it was the one part that added some of the emotion of giving up Steve, because of the earlier line where, Steve was talking about how, it's just catching the wind right, and how she goes, I associate you with flying. So I liked it because it connected her to Steve when she lost him and had to deal with her loss. I mean, we can argue about how weird it looked and it does look kind of weird. She does her Superman poses, and I'm trying to figure out, how are you gliding, falling, flying? I don't think you're flying, but what I don't understand how this works, but I kind of just let it go at that point when I liked
riding air currents.
Yes, and I liked what it was trying to convey there. Like, this is her connecting with Steve, having let him go a second time.
It's definitely sweet, but it's something that exists in the comics on its own, and I don't think it really needed the connection to Steve to make it believable.
I felt it was more poetic though, actually, to have that connection. I feel like, because it's again going back to Smallville, 10 seasons in which he develops a different superpower each season. It almost feels like that, which is that, yeah, she's been out of Themyscira for all these years now, but she's still finding things out about herself. She's still discovering abilities and powers that come, and I feel like this is almost a gift that Steve has given her. Because of the moments they've shared, it's awakened this thing within her that she's now able to tap into, and I liked that moment. I think the moment in the film that I got most emotional about was actually when Maxwell Lord goes to see his son at the end. Like that I got genuinely choked up during that. I don't know if I'm just a sucker for a redemption story, but
it's because you're also a father.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm a father, and I just think we don't see it often enough in superhero movies. You know, what we get in superhero movies all the time is the big bad guy has a showdown at the end, usually gets killed, but at the very least gets locked up and thrown away. What we don't get is a moment of redemption. And I just, for me, I came out of the film on a high because of that, because that's something we if there's one thing that this film gives us that we don't see in other superhero movies, it's that. It's that the main villain had this redemption. And I get what Cody's saying. Yeah, this guy should still be locked up. Don't get me wrong. The stuff he's done, it needs to have a price paid. But for me, it's the character journey within someone's heart. You know, it has their heart changed. You know, whether they get locked up or this, that, and the other, it's have they changed as a human being? And for me, it was that actually, yeah, he'd recognized what was important. He gave up what wasn't important, and there was a change there. There was a sense of redemption.
Well, it's kind of what Lindsay was talking about. It's an inverse of what we're used to with superhero movies. Usually, they're overcoming loss. Usually, they, how many of them are orphaned? It's just flipped. Usually they're overcoming loss. Now never mind. Lindsay said it better.
But I think it I think it possibly is that female touch. You know, having superhero movies directed by women. Until a couple of years ago, till Wonder Woman, it weren't really a thing. Just didn't happen, you know? And I think a lot of the criticism that we're getting now, I do have to question, is it primarily a male-dominated thing that we're getting this level of criticism? And is that
on
because...
the internet?
Yeah.
That's just been there.
Yeah, for this film. I mean, specifically this film.
No, it's women. It's women. If there's a woman lead in some sort of big movie, there's this whole universe of the internet that just hates it. It's really, really toxic. And I don't know if you remember Captain Marvel.
But are you saying that it's what I'm talking about is that toxic culture? Is it a female toxic culture, or is it a male toxic culture, or is it a 50-50 divide?
It's a male toxic culture against female.
So that's
in film.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the perception that there's an agenda, therefore they're overreacting and they're looking for something that may or may not be there.
Right.
Some of these movies have had some of that stuff.
Right.
Well, I've even seen
Captain Marvel certainly had some things with Brie Larson said it triggered that group of people to be overly sensitive to everything they saw.
Right.
And so they went into this movie looking for things like that.
I feel like this film has a very female perspective, as did the first one. You know, it's written, directed by a woman. Obviously, Jeff Johns had a hand in the script as well. But it's spearheaded by a main female character. And I feel like that a lot of the stuff in this is, it comes from a more feminine point of view. And I do wonder, is that the primary source for a lot of the criticism? Because there are some criticisms that we've talked about that I think hold up, that I think, yeah, you're right about that. That's silly. That's a bit stupid. That doesn't make sense. But then I go on to some places online where the criticisms are just getting silly. It's like BVS, where it's almost like you G yourself up to hate it. You found so many criticisms here that you just have to keep going. What can I pull out that really makes this film even more ridiculous?
I'm raising my hand for Q. Just going back a little bit to the whole story, Cody, the whole Aquaman thing. Like, before I saw Aquaman, all I heard was praise about this movie, and everybody thought it was so incredible and it's so funny and it's enjoyable and all of this. And I watched it and I could not understand afterwards what everybody had been seeing. People said that, oh, I love the chemistry between them. And I'm like, there was absolutely chemistry. Brother and sister chemistry. That was creepy if you think that's chemistry. I think that she is a terrible actress. I think that the only thing he has going for him is that some women, not me even, think that he's incredibly attractive. And I don't understand that either. He looks like he smells bad. And I don't see him as Arthur. I don't get that. And I thought that he was cast in that role because he's this huge heartthrob. People didn't find criticisms of that movie. It was actually praised quite a bit. But then Wonder Woman comes out, and me coming from not only somebody who is just mega obsessed with Wonder Woman, but grew up on Wonder Woman, and the things that people see that are problems about this film are actually things that are fan service to the film. And I don't understand the correlation of why you can praise this movie, which was kind of garbagey in my eyes, from somebody who actually, like, not a huge fan, but I kind of like Aquaman. I don't think he's as bad as everybody makes him out to be, or is useless.
It's pretty. It's a pretty movie.
No, but that's the thing, is that a lot of those CGI scenes, to me, looked like garbage. And people are like, oh no, it looks so great. I'm like, no, were you actually watching the same movie as me? And Cody, you ranked Aquaman higher than the first Wonder Woman.
I did.
What? No way.
It was your number 2, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was your, yeah. So, like, that's just...
Need a shorter clip.
Oh, that's great.
I needed to prolong it. I wanted it to be long.
I think you have to be careful because, I mean, you have to understand that when you start trying to assign reasons for why people didn't like it, but I liked it, or why people loved it, but I didn't like it, then you get into some danger. I honestly, whether or not, there's absolutely, without a doubt, a certain percentage of humanity on the internet, off the internet, that just don't like women empowerment or anything like that, and they're going to have a problem with it regardless. There's also, like I said earlier, just a gigantic truth about people know what gets clicks. I'm not going to name names, but I shared a message with Sean just 2 days ago where somebody that we know literally made a video with the title of Wonder Woman 84 is garbage, and they have garbage on the thumbnail and something else. And this is a person that has, you know, a low subscriber count and got like 20,000 views in a day because they put all this hyperbole all over it, where Sean, and I just pulled it up for reference, is on the way to 200,000 subscribers, just did a regular Wonder Woman movie review, and it's at 40,000 views. So, I mean, it's the truth of it. If you go out and you try to do a legitimate review and say, hey, it didn't work for me, I actually didn't really enjoy it, you're not going to get what you're going to get if you're like, this movie is a piece of trash, it's the worst thing ever, it ruined the DCEU, and people know that. And so, especially with the DCEU, there's a whole side of the internet that cannot wait for it to fail anytime that it stumbles. I mean, we saw that all the way up until Wonder Woman came out. You had Man of Steel, divisive. You had Batman v Superman, especially the theatrical cut, giant failure. You had Justice League, humongous failure, and DC, we got Avengers coming out, and that's just the truth of it. So I don't really try to put a whole lot of weight into this current temperature of this movie. It's what, at like 69% or something like that as far as a critic rating, 67. To me, that's about.
Doesn't count.
Trust me, I understand. But if we're just talking like in general, 70% of people really, liking it or walking out 3 out of 5. That seems appropriate for this type of movie to me. Sure. That makes a lot of bold changes from what we come to expect from the first movie.
Yeah. Right. CP, do you have those super chats? We'll just go through them and then we'll wrap up, I think. Maybe take a few comments before we do so.
Daniel Fitzgerald Grant says, you all have such great rapport. This is awesome. Can you please do more of these types of reviews together? Possibly a podcast, ?
I'd love to.
One of us.
There'll be another DC movie out that Brian has to shame us all on.
We have the Snyder cut coming, and
we're supposed to have like
divisive. That is going to be a razor thing, and DC fans will be at each other's jugulars. And man, I can't wait.
Yeah.
To touch on what you were talking about before, it has been a perfect storm of a year because Marvel fans, they got nothing this year. Yeah. We've all been stuck, not really getting anything as far as great movies, period. And Marvel fans had to sit and watch as a female-led DC movie came out. So it's it's a little extra spice in that toxic sauce. Sorry. Daniel Skinner. After watching WWE 84, both me and my mom had the same opinion as Mr. Chandler. However, my dad loves Linda Carter, so he was much more forgiving on it.
Can we talk about that scene really quick? That actually brought a big smile on my face when she turned around and winked. Like, it seemed like, for all of my criticisms of hokiness, that was a very on-the-nose thing, but for some reason,
the hokiest scene in the film.
It is, but it just, for some reason, I walked away. I was like, "Oh, that was cute," and I don't know if that's just a wink and a nod for the end of this movie, like, "All right, there she is," or if that's actually going to become a thing in the third movie, that she's this Amazonian warrior that has been living amongst humanity for God knows how long, and I don't know. I'm up for either.
I don't think it will.
Personally, really? I'd love to see her come in. Chloe Sullivan's mom on Smallville. Now another Amazonian Wonder Woman. Come on, let's do more.
Yeah, no, I can't see it myself, just because she's done a bit of TV since the 70s, but she's not really a big movie kind of actress these days.
I mean, there's a reason that part of the movie is turning around and winking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that's what it was.
Yeah.
Her prime was literally 45 years ago.
Yeah. That was just, I think that was literally just a bit of fan service, bit of, here's Linda Carter, get people, but I don't think it's anything to be taken seriously with regards to the direction in which the films are going to be moving. So.
Okay. We shall see.
I'd like to see her as a mentor. I mean, she doesn't have to
Well, that's what I was saying. I wasn't thinking she was going to be throwing down and doing wire work. I thought it was just going to be like, "Oh my God, it's you! Sorry, I busted the shit out of your gold suit, but can you teach me more?"
Hey, I mean, Dolph Lundgren was in Aquaman, so
Yeah, stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll wrap up there because I think. We did
Brian's
say about 90 minutes would be good. I've got it out of my system. It's good to go. Why don't you each just tell people what you got coming up on your channel? We'll start the opposite way around this time. Sean, we'll start with you. What have you got coming up? A ranking video, no doubt?
What? The most epic of rankings coming tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm doing a live stream ranking all, I think, 75 movies, 75 2020 new releases that I saw. That'll be tomorrow. Today's my top 10 of the year. A couple days is most anticipated for 2021, and then a bunch of Cobra Kai stuff coming up. So
yeah,
it's busy. It's been fun this month because nothing came out for 9 months, and then everything started dropping. So I've just been swamped, staying up till 2 in the morning trying to get everything done, and was very grateful when that 31.
I was relieved. I was relieved when I messaged Sean. I was like, "How do you feel about delaying 31? I'm getting a feeling we might have to." And he's like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah. We could do it on March 1st, 31 on 3/1. A little extra room.
CP, anything coming up?
Well, I have an older channel than Sean, and I've been doing this much longer, but the same thing. I'm ranking everything I saw in the year. Also, I have June 1990.
Older doesn't mean wiser.
No, I didn't imply that.
I am older than him, so I am wiser.
Just a wrap up of last year and June of 1999. that video. Oh, the May video featuring Sean is on the channel now. If you'd like to check.
When did I film that?
A long time ago.
Yeah, I saw that come. I was like, wait, I'm in that, aren't I?
yeah. That we had a little bit of a wait for some contribution. That's all.
Lindsay, I'm guessing nothing movie related.
Durbin, what do you got coming up next?
Lindsay and I will be getting backtrack with Dexter very soon. So I would say within the first couple of weeks of January, we'll probably be. I'm speaking for her, unfortunately, but we'll put the focus back on.
Like he's gonna let me off the hook on Dexter. So yeah, no, it's coming. Just don't hold your breath.
Durbin, what you got coming up?
Well, tonight I'm going live again, and so my wife is going to join me for that one, and she's hilarious. So we're just going to ignore the year 2020 altogether, and we're going to do our top 5 most anticipated films for 2021, which, a little bit of a spoiler, they're the ones that should have come out this year that we're still highly anticipating.
Just re-upload your video from last year.
Oh yeah, I get to do that. Yes, for sure. Then make it much easier. And then my goal is Sunday, I'm going to rank all 10 seasons of Smallville. So, I got my rankings coming up too.
Cody.
All right. Well, as Brian's going to speak some more on in, 3.5 hours, him and I are dropping our top 50 action movies. There it is. So we did our top 50 comedies a couple weeks ago. This is part 2, top 50 actions. Yeah. Number 1, baby.
Comedy, drama.
Here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have our top 50 horror films, and then we'll wrap up with our top 100 movies of all time. It was intended to be a whole December thing, but I had some things happen in this room, so I've just got access to this room again a week ago. So delayed a little bit, but you're still getting them. I'm not going to be doing top 10, worst 10. I haven't seen enough movies this year to merit that. It would be like 3 movies I genuinely loved, and then 7 movies that were they came out in 2020. So that's my kind of replacement is these big epic lists. I might do top 10 anticipated, but I'm not sure. I'm not confident on the dates staying next year at all. So
I don't think anybody is at all, because I went and I looked up these dates, and all they say is 2021, and very few even had a specific date.
Exactly. So, pending ETA.
Like you just said, I could record this live thing and maybe use it again in 2022. So who knows?
Exactly.
Warner seems pleased with how things turned out with the dual release of Wonder Woman 84. So as far as that, looking for the future, at least Warner should be on track.
Depending on how lawsuits go, yes.
Yeah.
Because everybody hates them right now. So 2021, we'll see. I just filmed a fan mail unboxing and an off the shelves. The first off the shelves I've done since September, maybe since I moved. Haven't bought a lot of Blu-rays. And that's really it. There's going to be some more stuff, but those are the only ones that I know for sure to look forward to.
Okay, excellent. Well, guys, always a pleasure. Really good to have you on, and thank you for everyone joining us in the chat. Clearly, me and Lindsay are right. Everybody else is wrong.
Per usual. Now we're going to go talk about...
Bye-bye.
Airbag.